So welcome. For anyone who hasn't met you yet, could you tell me a little bit more about yourselves, what you do at Savills, and how you got into workplace strategy, Lotte?
Yeah. So my name is Lotte de Jong, indeed working for Savills, which is a real estate advisor globally, but I'm based in Amsterdam and my expertise is workplace consultancy and change management. I think I have kind of a not that common background if you look at workplace consultants broadly, because I started my career in an HR business partner position in which I guided lots of teams who dealt with struggles within a team and needed to develop as a team. So I guided them as an HR professional. And that's where one of the workplace managers saw me working in teams and guiding organizations or teams in organizations towards a change. And he said, okay, this could be really interesting for our business as well, for workplace consultancy. And that's how I actually moved from more an HR staff position to this business. And yeah, I started actually more like learning on the job, learned all the aspects of workplace consultancy within the team back then, as well as change management. And that's where I am currently now working for several positions in the occupier services team. So we are advising and guiding occupiers with their housing questions and issues.
Thank you so much for your background, Lotte. And just if you want to dive a bit deeper into the experience that you have, like what would you say are the main challenges right now that occupiers are facing when it comes to workplace?
Yeah, I think what we see currently is that, of course, in this insecure world, that all organizations are really cost driven at the moment. So that is what we see within housing as well. It's the second expense on the balance sheet, of course. So what we see as a real estate advisor, I think we need to approach this question from a real estate perspective because they are searching for um, a proper business case in which they can decide on stay within their current office or to move, and to make that decision and to really have a good insight in the consequences of their choices. We need to touch base on all aspects within the housing strategy of organizations. So that's where I think it's really beneficial for Savills and also for me as a workplace consultant to be able to work with all experts within our organization to help and to support our occupiers in their business case.
When it comes to like you mentioned cost being one of the main drivers, but in addition to cost, like what are the changes that people are looking for when it comes to their workplace strategy? Because if it's purely cost, are they discussing like cost saving measures with you? Or are they looking for expansion? What are the other changes that they're looking for other than being budget
Yeah,
concerns?
of course. So after the cost question, of course, we are touch base on the quality of the work environment, and that's also part of the question how organizations would like to work. And what we see in this is that they're aiming, especially the more bigger corporate organizations, they're aiming for getting people back to the office more often. That's a big challenge. So together with me as a workplace consultant, but also with architects, we are discussing with clients, okay, what can we do to attract people, to let them coming back to the office more often. But it's still a challenge because yes, you can approach this from a housing perspective and from a more design perspective. But as a change consultant, which refers more to the strategy of an organization and how to guide organizations in this transition to get people back to the office, it's also a people question. So what can we do as leadership or as more from a culture perspective to get people more involved and more engaged to the organization?
Yeah, that's a great point. And when you're talking about like being engaged in the process, like are there specific methods that you've successfully used that can help feel get people more engaged when it comes to finding new
Yeah,
locations or changing up their current location? Or,
as a real estate advisor, we need to come up with a proper business case. And to have that business case in place, we need to do a deep dive within the organization, of course. And for me, that starts with touching base on the strategy and ambition of an organization. And the only conversation about that is with the leadership team. So that's where it starts, from my opinion, to engage the leadership team in this challenge. And of course, we filter more towards work patterns and work activities within the organization, and that's where we have to um, um, contact the people within the organization, and normally aiming for a more quantitative approach combined with qualitative. So, like a survey and measurements and more data-driven tools, but also having the conversations with the people within to validate the data we collected. Yeah, to give a good advice.
And when it comes to these kind of big changes within the organization, potentially moving up their location to a different location and trying to keep open communication among all stakeholders, what role does space planning take up there?
Yeah, a big role, because what we see is, of course, real estate housing isn't the core business within organizations. So for them, it's really difficult to to have a view or an insight in the new situation. So as it comes to the business case, and we need to calculate the square meters, but also the consequences in wave working or in costs, then we need to show them different scenarios of their housing options, also from a space planning perspective. To say, okay, if you would like this for this for these costs, that that looks like this in this particular building, for example, or if you want to stay, this is what we can do with the environment. And that's where space planning, test fits is really important to objectify the discussions.
Right. Yeah. And what I really liked about the conversation also, and why we're here today is like you yourself went through one of these processes recently with Savills, where you were
We're still in it.
evaluating or
We're still in it. Yeah.
oh, you're still in it, even where you're evaluating your current office space and the need for expanding that or not. And in that
Mhm.
context, we got to know each other, and you started using layout as well. So I've been curious, of course, to hear like you've been testing it internally as well. First of all, what made you interested in trying that?
For us, designing or architecture isn't our core business. So we always need to depend on the expertise of an architect in this case, and that takes time because what we see in especially in decision making and compare possibilities, etc. Um, you need to stay on top of it and to be able to answer questions for leadership teams and of course also within my own organization quickly. So what's really beneficial of the tool of layout is that you can use it yourself. We can play with it ourselves, and we can come up with scenario planning and answers to the leadership really quick.
Yeah, is
Yeah.
it fair to kind of interpret that as in a way that you always come with a certain like vision, something that you feel like it should be like, and that layout is a tool that allows you to visualize that for
Yeah.
stakeholders on the spot, just with words?
Yeah. Visualize the unknown or the future possibilities or the future office, but also to, I think, to objectify assumptions. Or what we also see sometimes is on sea level is that a lot of people think they know what the possibilities are, and why can't we add more desks on this floor, for example, and then we need to say, no, that's not possible. We need to bear in mind that we need certain square meters for particular options. And it's really nice to have a tool like layout in which we can show them, look at this, it's not possible otherwise, and then you can talk about the consequences. And that helps and supports the discussion within the room as well.
Yeah. And how was it perceived by the people you're presenting to or are presenting to at the moment? Any first feedback from, because this must be unusual for them as well to get such detailed kind of elaboration on why the floor should be a certain way. How did they perceive?
Yeah, they perceived it really positive because um, we could stop talking in circles and we can just say, okay, yeah, but if you want this, then this is the consequence, and then you can show it immediately. Sometimes if you don't have the tool and you can do it yourself in your own time, you always need to rely on the time availability of an external or third party. And that slows down the process. So for me, it's really beneficial to have it in-house and do it myself.
And then the other the coin is like, especially when talking about AI, there's lots of concern around AI and its impacts. How do you see this more generally about AI disrupting workflows and especially within your field of workplace strategy and change management? Do you see it purely beneficial or also some risks?
Yeah, of course, I follow the discussions as well. Um, but I'm a real advocate of AI and this kind of tools because it's yeah why it's yeah it helps me in speeding up the process, speeding up discussions, decisions. Yeah, I love it. I love the way in this specific area the way the world develops. Yeah.
So when looking ahead, like what what things do you think that organizations should be really thinking about and where they could improve when it comes to their workplace strategy?
Yeah, but what I see, and I think it's already improved for offices who are delivered currently. But of course, what we see is that a lot of our work is computer and desk based, I think, when it comes to your core activities. So, what I see and what I recommend and advise to my clients is to have proper breakout spaces to um, break out of the open environment and to sit down with your computer for your calls, your team calls, and all that conversations. So it needs to be well supported. And on the other hand, of course, what I already mentioned at the start is that if an organization would like to attract people back to the office, and I think that's where the more informal collaboration and the social areas are really important to provide, and that helps for people to come back because it's a better place to work than at home. But it's still difficult, of course, to only approach getting people back to the office from a housing perspective. But the social heart and the social amenities are really important.
When you're looking at your vicinity, like within Amsterdam and the occupiers that you're working with, do you feel like they're all heading back to the office? And is that part of the strategy, or is that kind of already yeah phased out by now, or is that still a topic?
Yeah, that's a question what I get really often, and I actually wrote an article about it um, because I think the main question is not how do we get people back to the office, but more back to the organization. So I think it's more culture and connection driven than it's only about being visible on the office.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, Lotte. And
Yeah, you're
if
welcome.
anyone wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to find you and get in touch?
LinkedIn always.
And great, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.